From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South. I am Kijan Haynes. We begin in Haiti, where Prime Minister Jacques-Guy Lafontant resigned before he appeared before a parliament ahead of a vote of no confidence. Lafontant still appeared before the lawmakers, giving a 10-minute speech, but said the president had already accepted his resignation. He was confident ahead of the meeting, tweeting on Friday that he was ready to defend himself and the policies of President Moïse. The Prime Minister was seen as instrumental in the rise of fuel prices, which sparked massive protest 2 Fridays ago, shortly after he was forced to postpone the decision. Meanwhile, the opposition deputies in Parliament were calling for his removal, saying he is a token imposed by the elite and not through the will of the people.
Before coming here, I presented my resignation to the president. The President of the Republic accepted my resignation, and, as I say to you, I am at the service of the Republic.
Rolando Segura is in Haiti with the latest.
After being questioned in a parliament session, Jacques-Guy Lafontant indeed confirmed that before arriving in the Haitian parliament, he had delivered his resignation as prime minister to the president of Haiti, Jovenel Moïse. This is something that the opposition has deemed unconstitutional, because it should be parliament who declares the motion of censure or no confidence in the prime minister. In the meantime, outside of the parliament building, there were some protesters. The opposition had called for a massive protest, but they just barely managed to summon a dozen of people. The protest was broken up by security officials when it began to get violent. In the meantime, we wait for the reactions from the different sectors of Haitian society. The Prime Minister's resignation came after major protests after the announcement of gas price hikes of 50%, and despite revoking the measure, calls still remained for his resignation.
Thank you, Rolando. In Nicaragua, large demonstrations were held simultaneously on Friday, both by supporters of the Sandinista government as well as the opposition and its supporters. President Ortega and his supporters held a caravan from Managua to Masaya to celebrate the 1979 retreat that saw thousands of guerrillas withdraw from Managua to Masaya in order to regroup before securing victory as President Antonio Somoza fled the country.
President Daniel Ortega stays because we want him to stay. Here we're showing to the Nicaraguan people the extent of the support that the commander has. He stays. Yes, he stays. We are celebrating the Day of Retreat, the commemoration of the famous retreat, in which all of them retreated in this place of Nindiri. All historical fighters are celebrating 3919, all with pride. Viva Daniel!
Our correspondent in Managua, Maria Jose Diaz, has more.
The Nicaraguan opposition called for a 24-hour national strike on Friday. But despite this, businesses proceeded to open their doors, and transportation ran as usual. At the same time, a peace caravan took place with thousands of supporters of the Sandinista Front, where President Ortega called for the reestablishment of peace in the country and called for reconciliation. However, in the evening, part of the caravan was attacked by opposition supporters, leaving 9 people injured. These violent groups also set the National Autonomous University of Nicaragua on fire, and several videos can be seen on social media showing them using handmade weapons. The opposition is organizing another caravan to be held today.
And Venezuela's foreign minister had some words to say about the coverage of the events of Nicaragua by Western media. Minister Jorge Arias tweeted that biased editorial lines of Western media on the violence in Nicaragua is identical to the misrepresentation of Venezuela in 2017, where he said, quote, terrorists are portrayed as heroes of peace and democracy. Two police officers in the Colombian Department of Antioquia were killed this Friday after being attacked by snipers. The two policemen came under fire in the mountains surrounding the emergency zone of Puerto Valdivia, where residents have been evacuated from potential flooding and landslides from the Hidroituango Dam. A special intelligence team has been sent from Bogota to investigate.
The three officers were attacked from the top of the hill when they were patrolling the area, protecting the residents from this port, which is located in shelter camps in Valdivia.
And former presidential candidate in Colombia, Gustavo Petro, had a brief scare Friday night when his official Facebook account was apparently shut down. Petro took to Twitter to ask his followers to demand Facebook reinstate his page, calling it censorship of the opposition. It was reactivated a few hours later, and Petro posted, "We move on. It's not really clear if it was deliberate or a technical glitch." And a major victory for Julian Assange after the Inter-American Court of Human Rights ruled essentially that it is his basic right to seek asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London.
The Inter-American Court of Human Rights published an advisory opinion requested by the Ecuadorian government on the institution of asylum and its recognition as a human right in the Inter-American system of protection. The court ruled people have the right to seek asylum in embassies and that a state must give safe passage to the asylum seekers.
As the pronouncement of the Inter-American Court says, there is this obligation to guarantee the right of every human being and to apply the principle of non-return. This means that a person cannot be delivered to a foreign territory if he considers that his life and integrity are in danger.
The court interpreted the reach of the protection given under Article 22.7 of the American Convention on Human Rights and Article 77 of the American Declaration on the Rights and Duties of Man.
Legally, Assange is Ecuadorian, and therefore whether asylum should be granted or not isn't a discussion. Asylum relates to a foreign person, and Julian Assange is Ecuadorian.
Meanwhile, social organizations who support Assange in Ecuador celebrated the court's publication, but also they sounded the warning that Ecuador is taking a more neoliberal stance to its policy making.
With the Pence visit, various of the economic measures that the government has taken, we know that the Assange comes under that political path. It's that approach towards a United States neoliberal policy.
During an interview, Ecuadorian Foreign Ministry denied the possibility of a meeting with Julian Assange in his next trip to Belgium to the CELAC summit this month. Also, Ecuador's President Lenin Moreno will travel to Europe in the coming days. There have been rumors that Moreno will discuss Assange's status. However, the government officially said they will look for a joint solution with the United Kingdom and the lawyers of the WikiLeaks founder. Denise Herrera, Telesur Quito, Ecuador.
Let's take a short break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting. Welcome back. It's almost over. Only one game left until we crown new World Cup champions. Jose Daniel Lopez has the highlights from the third place playoff and more.
Thank you, Kijen, and welcome to our Telesur Russia 2018 special World Cup coverage. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez, and here are today's headlines. Belgium beat England 2-0 in the World Cup third-place match in St. Petersburg. Belgian defender Thomas Meunier scored a goal in the first half, and midfielder Eden Hazard scored the second goal. Belgium takes the third place. England finishes fourth. Here are some reactions from the coaches.
When you go into international football, you always feel as a coach that you don't get the players long enough to try to affect a way of playing, a way of reacting in certain circumstances. And I think what we've seen is that a group of players that they were committed to become a team. You haven't heard one single story from a player talking about his near future, talking about a possible move. Nobody's been talking about anything apart from their contribution towards the team. And that's what allowed our individual talent to do what we've done.
Very proud of what we've done. We're under no illusions as to where we stand as a team. We've finished in the final four, but we're not a top four team yet. We know that. We've never hidden behind that. Against the very best teams, we've come up short. But we've had a wonderful adventure and some experiences that will stand this group of players and staff in really good stead for the future. And yeah, I couldn't ask any more of any of the players today or right the way through the 7 weeks we've worked together.
Fans reacted to their team taking home the third place finish.
Very proud of this team. This means a lot for us. Third place in the World Championship. I really touched emotions. There's a lot of emotions now.
We're very happy for Belgium. We were hoping that they would go into the final, yes, but we're very happy with our third place. We think they're a great team and we love them. Yes.
When we've come up against the big teams, the really big teams, we've come up short. And you know, Croatia less so than Belgium, and then we played Belgium. And they're just better than us all over, I think. Particularly, our defence is just flapping every time their forwards came near them. So.
Among the most popular tourist attractions for football fans in Russia is what's known as Moscow's Victory Museum.
Moscow's Great Patriotic War Museum, or what's known as the Victory Museum, is among the most popular stops for World Cup visitors in Russia. It's a massive indoor and outdoor complex providing a history of World War II.
It is a nice surprise to see all the Soviet historic elements in this museum, since the Soviet Union was one of the main countries which fought and defeated Nazi Germany. It is interesting for Latin American people, since we are so used to the US point of view of World War II. We need to keep in mind that it was a war that separated many countries. This is a very impressive museum. It is a place where people can learn a lot about history. You see kids running around, having fun and learning at the same time. It is a very impressive place.
The building, designed by architect Anatoly Polansky, features over 14,000 square meters of exhibit space, and the museum itself is set in Victory Park, a park of 2,424 hectares. In visiting this museum and park, one gets a sense of the contribution of the Soviet armed forces and allies during World War II. The award-winning museum is complete with outdoor monuments, paintings depicting battle scenes, photographs, and several halls with weaponry, aircrafts, and military vehicles used during the war. Visitors can also catch a film screening in the museum's theater.
We are able to observe the amount of soldiers that died during World War II. There is a section in the back of the museum with all the names of the soldiers that died in battle, and it is a lot of people.
Visitors who may be familiar with the US and Western European military history are seeing the Second World War from a perspective that includes the role played by the USSR.
I've always seen it really from the British perspective, which is the sort of history we see. We don't really see it from the Russians' perspective. And, for them it seems to be quite a triumphant moment that, I think I was just saying to Paul that, compared to the Imperial War Museum where it's very understated, here it seems to be like this was their big moment, where they defeated fascism, and it's really from their perspective it seems to be like the biggest moment in their history, which has defined them almost.
The massive memorial complex gives football fans the opportunity to leave Russia with a bit of history on top of their World Cup memories.
Croatia's capital city is preparing for Sunday's World Cup final against France. Red and white checkerboard flags and football jerseys are everywhere as the nation swells with pride at its team's performance. Croatian fans believe they can win against France.
To tell you the truth, this is an historic moment for Croatia. Without thinking about it twice, we decided with a dozen of friends to drive all the way here, to Zagreb Main Square, where everything is happening.
I made a decision to watch tomorrow's final here in Zagreb. I didn't even think twice about it. From 100 to 2,100 people are expected here. They will come from all over Croatia, abroad, Germany, Austria, and neighboring countries. It's clear that we need to take revenge against the French after 1998.
Here's some facts about the World Cup finalists. Croatia's team is led by coach Zlatko Dalic. The team captain and star player is Real Madrid midfielder Luka Modric. Croatia has participated in 4 World Cups, including the 1998 semi-final in France. This will be the first World Cup final for Croatia. And on the other side, Team France is led by coach Didier Deschamps, who also participated as a player in the 1998 World Cup. Atletico Madrid striker and star player Antoine Griezmann has scored 3 goals this tournament. This will be the 3rd World Cup final for France. They obtained the World Cup trophy on home soil in 1998 after beating Brazil 3-0, and they advanced to the final in Germany 2006, losing against Italy. The World Cup final takes place tomorrow. The final match takes place in Moscow at Luzhniki Stadium. And that's all for today's Telesur Russia 2018 headlines. Don't miss our exclusive show, De la Mano del 10, the World Cup according to Maradona. Only on Telesur English. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Back to you, Kitchen.
Thanks a lot, Jose Daniel. Now, Cuba has opened a gallery honoring the country's long history of sporting excellence. The Gallery of Cuban Sports showcases medals and trophies won by Cuban athletes at international competitions, while displaying photographs of the country's athletic history. Among the photographs is a display honoring the late revolutionary hero Fidel Castro as he played baseball, basketball, and put on a pair of boxing gloves. President Miguel Díaz-Canel lamented the number of athletes who have left Cuba and flourished in other countries.
Today, the world of sport has become a commodity. The laws of the marketplace rule. It's a scenario where athletes buy and sell themselves as if they were merchandise, where there is a high degree of corruption, both administrative and within the sport, where the nefarious scourge of doping is also imposing itself regrettably on sports competition. However, the Cuban Revolution, a small country like ours, with limited economic and financial resources, has tried to maintain the morale and dignity of sport.
And Sunday is the beginning of the Sao Paulo Forum in Havana. Laura Prada gives us a preview of the event.
Hello, yes, nice to greet you from Havana. Indeed, this weekend, this Sunday, 15th, 16th and 17th of July will take place here in Havana, the Sao Paulo Forum, the 24th meeting of the Sao Paulo Forum. This will be 24 years after that Havana hosted, that Cuba hosted this meeting, the fourth meeting of this forum. In this event, over 400 people are expected to be arriving to Cuba, political parties and groups, but also special guests that were invited to take place of this meeting. We must take into consideration that the Sao Paulo Forum is a space for political consultation and a space for the regional left to exchange ideas and thoughts about how to get stronger in these years. The Sao Paulo Forum was founded in 1990 by Fidel Castro and the former president of Brazil, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. This forum also takes place and expects people not only from the Latin America and the Caribbean, but also from Europe, Africa, Middle East. And this will be a meeting to exchange ideas, debate over topics like culture, with the youth, with the legislators. This will be a space of integration of movements from the left, from Latin America and the Caribbean, but also a space where to share these ideas and these struggles of Latin America and the Caribbean to free and to conquer their future. We'll be sharing with you everything that comes from this meeting.
Thank you, Laura Prada. Let's move to Jamaica, where Prime Minister Andrew Holness is taking a hands-on approach when it comes to troubles at state-owned oil refinery Petrojam. Holness says that for a few months, or at least until the strategic review of Petrojam is complete, he will personally take over the energy portfolio that was stripped from embattled Minister Dr. Andrew Wheatley. The refinery has been embroiled in allegations of mismanagement and corruption.
Indeed. And the government does not intend to have this national asset in any way devalued. So we will do everything within our powers to ensure that normalcy is returned to Petrojam, that the industrial relations situation is settled, that there is accountability both for present and past actions, that the public, particularly the consuming public, is confident that there is no corruption in Petrojam.
In Antigua and Barbuda, Prime Minister Gaston Brown is accusing some Barbudans of playing games with the country's development. The statement comes after groups who had previously tried to stop the development project known as Paradise Found, spearheaded by actor Robert De Niro, have apparently changed their mind and are now seeking to meet with developers. Opponents said the government bypassed the 2007 Barbuda Land Act when allowing the development and therefore called it unconstitutional.
The interesting thing is the very individuals who have taken the Paradise Found project to court, the Barbudans, they recently got on to our ambassador in Miami to ask for an audience with De Niro and others with a view of withdrawing the litigation to allow the project to go forward. So you understand the duplicity? So if it is that it was bad in the first instance, now that you have the council, you're now trying to negotiate to have it, to take it out of courts and to have the project move forward.
Let's take another short break now. Join us again after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting. Welcome back. Dozens were injured in Gaza airstrikes carried out by the Israeli military. The strikes lasted for several hours. A building in the center of Gaza was bombed. It was located next to two of the largest universities. Of course, there are reports of several casualties. The Israeli military claims to be conducting strikes on dozens of targets aimed at what they say are Hamas training and weapons storage facilities.
3 explosions happened, and after the explosions, I felt that something hit my arm. I looked at my arm and found it bleeding, so I went to Al-Shifa hospital.
It started early morning when we woke up to a launching of mortar shells. Since then, we have a couple of dozens of mortar shells and Qassam missiles fired at us, which is not something we're used to in the recent times. It's not something that is happening recently.
The Trump baby balloon was transported from London to Edinburgh, Scotland overnight, where demonstrators marched against the president's visit. Organizers of the protest had hoped to fly the balloon outside Trump's Turnberry Golf Resort, but were refused permission for security reasons. During a Saturday afternoon golf game, he was booed by demonstrators gathered at the complex. And on Friday in London, U.S. President Donald Trump received a welcome as heated as the unusually hot British summer weather. Pablo Navarrete was there.
Donald Trump's 4-day visit to Britain was met with a mass protest in London on Friday, with an estimated 250,000 people marching against the controversial US president.
London is showing the world, especially America, that we reject the politics of bigotry, of division, of hatred. We reject Donald Trump's administration for what it stands for. The man has been in power for a year. In that time, he's rolled back the rights of women, their reproductive and sexual rights. He's rolling back the rights of LGBTQI people.
Along with a carnival atmosphere that included music, dancing and the presence of the 4-metre-high orange Trump baby blimp, there was a real sense of anger that Trump's racism, misogyny and immigrant policies should be indulged so extravagantly by the British government.
I think that Donald Trump's language and the vocabulary that he's using is giving license and permission to a lot of very, very ugly people to come out and feel somehow that they are now given license to say things which we haven't heard for a long time. We don't want to be hearing them.
Just before arriving, Trump claimed that he thought people liked him a lot in Britain. However, a poll published on Thursday, the day of his arrival, showed that 77% of the British public had an unfavourable view of the US president.
We want to make it clear that we will stand against the misogyny, the racism, the bigotry, the hatred that he represents, the attempt to scapegoat migrants, refugees, Muslims for all the problems caused by the powerful. We've seen that all over the Western world. Trump is the most striking example, so we're taking that on, not just Trump there, but what he actually represents.
Despite his earlier insults, Prime Minister Theresa May and her government gave Trump a lavish welcome alongside the Queen and business leaders. The US president is spending the weekend at one of his golf courses in Scotland, where protests were also called. Pablo Navarrete, Telesur, London.
In South Korea, an estimated 15,000 people celebrated its 19th Gay Pride in Seoul. A petition of over 200,000 signatures tried to stop the Pride Festival in the weeks preceding the event. The petition has been posted on the website of President Moon Jae-in. The country is dominated by a conservative and Christian culture under which it's been difficult to pass same-sex marriage and anti-discrimination laws.
People always say that sexual minorities' rights will come later, but I think human rights should not be a matter that needs approval by others. Laws specifying that no one can discriminate against them should be enacted as soon as possible.
And that story brings us to the end of this news brief. These and many other stories, find them on our website, telesurtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for Telesur English. I'm Kijan Haynes. Thank you for watching.
In South America and the Caribbean, we face challenges, looking for ways of contributing to solutions to the nations. With a uniting feeling, though before the attack of those imposing themselves, we defend an ideal of an inspiring struggle. We are together, preserving our traditions, integrated